Former Canadian Prime Minister Pierre Trudeau once compared living next to the United States to sleeping with an elephant. He said, "You cannot help but be aware of its every movement." I think what he was saying was today, international concerns have broadened from America's economic and political influence to the pervasiveness of its culture. Some nations have actually imposed bans on American films and TV broadcasts and consumer goods, fearing that their popularity will erode traditional cultures. Among the questions sparked by this global debate is, what is American culture? Is it the commercialized stereotypes presented to the world, or is it more akin to an impressionistic painting whose beauty is created by the diversity of its strokes? Is the world becoming Americanized or globalized? And what is the difference?
I think the world has become very Americanized, really, because they're looking to us through the media for sets of values.
I think that we think that we're going to shape the rest of the world, and I think we are being reshaped by the rest of the world.
I'll tell you a little story. I was a film and theater critic in London in 1969 and 70, and about 20 years later, I took my kids back to London to look at the newspaper where I worked and the pub next door where I had worked and where I lived. And the newspaper where I worked was now an American office building. The pub next door was an American hamburger joint. There was a store across the street specializing in American football. So everywhere that I held dear in Great Britain was now American.
I have seen over the last, I'm coming now to the States for maybe 30 years, I've also seen globalization and immigration having its effect on American society. 30 years ago, you wouldn't get sushi in New York or most of the places of the United States, and many other things. I mean, look at the restaurants, look at the diversity of culture and so on that has appeared in this country. So, of course, the US is exporting a way of life, but at the same time, this way you live here in the United States is also changing.
Selling American culture. I mean, that's what McDonald's does, that's what Nike does, that's what Mattel does.
The French don't like McDonald's on every corner, I guess.
We had a conference a few months back in Paris, and we were walking along the Champs-Élysées, the most famous street in Paris, and here's a McDonald's, and then you walk a few blocks down, and there's a Kentucky Fried Chicken.
McDonald's, Kentucky Fried Chicken and a Pizza Hut. McDonald's.
Other countries may be repulsed by McDonald's restaurants in every corner, but Americans embrace their Mexican, Chinese, Indian, and other ethnic restaurants with open arms in every state, in every city.
There's a cultural protectionism in the face of globalization, that the idea that you will lose your identity because another identity is predominant. And I mean, we've seen that even in the US, that people feel like we're losing our sense of America, when really our sense of America has always been a sense of a mixture of peoples and ideas. And so a cultural influence like a McDonald's or like a Disney will never take the place of French cuisine. It will never take the place of sushi in Japan. It's contributing to it.
No one's forcing kids outside the U.S. to listen to American hip hop. They're listening to it because that's what they like.
Patriotism should not be confused with nationalism. It's patriotic to wave your flag and celebrate your culture, but it's nationalistic to burn someone else's flag or banish another culture.
You also have to look at foreign cultures making an influence in the U.S. I mean, if you live or work anywhere west of the Mississippi in the U.S., you have to learn Spanish.
Is pizza American? Are bagels American? Are tacos American?
Clearly, the United States has a tremendous influence on the world militarily Economically, we've defined shareholder capitalism. Wall Street and our financial markets have led the world culturally with Hollywood and our movies. Our sense of moral imperialism about democracy and freedom and fairness, our products. So the world is clearly becoming more like the United States. Having said that, many of the countries are becoming quite successful in the global marketplace. And many of the countries are developing and exporting their own culture, whether it's French wine and French food, they've been doing it for hundreds of years, or the Dutch exporting their sense of tolerance and being culture bridgers, or Mexican culture, or the Caribbean music, or Japanese sushi, or Buddhism from Asia. So it seems that each country has its own strengths and shortcomings, and each country exports what it is good at.
So Americanization, in effect, is taking the best of the globe, of globalization, and bringing it into us. And I think because of that ability to grow, prosper, succeed, I think most of the rest of the world has seen America as a leader. And therefore, a lot of globalization is taking the best of America and incorporating it elsewhere.
You know, an American is the only person on this planet that can laugh at him or herself for being called that ugly American. We can laugh because we know the beauty of America's success. We know we're not perfect. We strive for social responsibility. It doesn't always work. But Americans can look global bigotry against them straight in the eye and forge ahead.
Some scoff that only 10% of Americans have passports. Well, that's about 28 million people. Another 10% that live in the U.S. are foreign-born, already with experience of another culture. What a global power force.
Much of what is written about globalization and cross-cultural interaction can be very idealistic and intimidating. You know, when I first started traveling abroad, I used to worry about making a mistake in another environment. Like, what are the do's and don'ts of the culture? How should I react in a given situation? Did I just make a cultural blunder? I've since learned that people of all cultures can handle a great deal of authenticity and apology, but are still rather skeptical of phony or rehearsed sensitivity.
Globalization thrives on values such as profit, integrity, social responsibility, and personal and professional growth. Values that do sound a bit American. If globalization and Americanization are becoming the same thing, then Americans are becoming more and more globally savvy by default.
And I happen to believe, and maybe this is really romantic and naive, that with the internet and computers and technology, that it is making people much more similar than different. And now some people could take that as a negative, that, you know, we should preserve ethnic, you know, purity and ethnic differences and all that. But I happen to think that, you know, within some pretty, you know, good guidelines, people are getting more and more similar, and I actually view that as a positive.
Listen, whether you are an American citizen, a Russian citizen, a Brazilian citizen, or any other kind of citizen, that does not have to mean you can't become a global citizen as well. A global citizen.